Hi YouTube. The other day when I was canning my chili, I showed 9 pounds of apples that I was able to get for $3. And so there were 3 bags at $1 each, so they were 9 pounds for $3. And I told you I didn't know what I was going to do with those apples for sure, but Miss Lori Brown at Whippoorwill Holler had shown a new way of canning apples, and I said I might do that. I asked y'all to give me suggestions. I am going to can apples, but first I want to get a little goodie for Papa Bruce done, and he chose an apple custard coffee cake. I'm going to read you the recipe as written, but then I'm going to tell you how I do it different. It calls for 2 cups of Bisquick, and I don't use any pre-mixes at all, and I don't use lard, and Bisquick lots of times has lard in it. So I made my own Bisquick. It's 2 cups of flour, about 2/3 of a cup of coconut oil, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, and about ½ a teaspoon of salt. So that's basically 2 cups of Bisquick. The next thing as written is 3/4 cup of milk and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And I've got that right here. This is my milk with the vanilla already in it. We'll just pour it in. Now if I was making biscuits, that would be just about the right consistency. I'm going to say it needs a little bit more milk for it to be a cake. So I'm going to put a little bit more milk in it. Just a little. Oh, I forgot the sugar. ½ a cup of sugar. I'm glad I forgot it. Because now we can put some more milk in it. Probably about 1/4 of a cup. Not much. I've never made this recipe before, so I don't know exactly how it's supposed to turn out, but this is how we're going to do it. And then once you get that mixed up, it calls for 1 cup of pecans. Well, I have walnuts today, so we're going to put walnuts.
Yum.
Papa Bruce loves nuts, and every time we make brownies or something, and it calls for ½ a cup or a cup, whatever, of nuts, he always wants to double the nuts. And sometimes we do. It says to put it in a 9 by 9 inch dish, but I don't have a 9 by 9, so I'm going to use this Pampered Chef biscuit and flatten it out. Again, I've never done this, so I don't know if this is how it was supposed to be done, but I'm just going by the instructions that I was given. There's the cake part. Now the next part is 2 tart apples, peeled and chopped, 1 teaspoon cinnamon, and 1/4 cup of sugar. And I've done that, and they've been marinating while I got the rest of my ingredients together. So there's the apples, the sugar, and the cinnamon. And I always like to put just a touch of salt in it too, because the salt will help bring out that apple flavor. And then the last part is the custard part. And it calls for 3 eggs, a cup of whipping cream, and ½ a cup of sugar. Again, I'm going to put just a little bit of salt in it. It doesn't call for it, but salt always brings it out. Something else I'm going to do is, anytime you have a custard dish, a little nutmeg also helps. It does have cinnamon already, but nutmeg is a secret ingredient in a lot of things. So I'm going to whisk my eggs, 3 eggs, ½ a cup of sugar, a little grating of nutmeg, and a cup of whipping cream, or heavy cream. Some people call it heavy cream. Stir it up really good and pour it over the apples. And then you cook it at 350 for 40 to 45 minutes, or until a knife inserted in the center comes out clean. You can serve it warm, but refrigerate the leftovers because of the egg. And since that is so full, I am going to put an underlining tray with it just in case it should spill over. So I'm going to get a tray and put it in the oven, and we'll be back a little later. And in the meantime, I'll gather up all of my canning equipment, and we're going to can those apples. See you later. Well, I'm getting all of my canning stuff ready, but in the meantime, this cake is still in the oven, and I think it's just about ready. Let's see what we got. It did not boil over. I had a tray in there just in case, but boy, it's close. Let's see what it looks like. That's pretty much clean.
Get that thing out of there. Let's go.
Yes, sir. So we're going to take it out. Whew.
Here, let me have it.
I got it, sweetie. Just need to... It's pretty. Real pretty. What do you think, darling? Okay. We'll set it on the table and let it cool, and then we'll get going with this canning project. Okay, Miss Lori Brown said in her video to peel and slice the apples and layer them in a crock. Well, I didn't have a crock, so I used the crock insert of my slow cooker. And I followed her directions. It was about 5 cups of apples to a half a cup of sugar. And you just make layers. 5 cups apples, half a cup sugar. And so then you cover it with the lid and leave it overnight. So that's what I did. Well, of course, those apples are going to leach out some juice. They're going to mix with that sugar and leach out some juice. So I have taken the apples out of this now. We'll get it out of the way. I measured just the apples, and I have a 4-quart bowl here. So 4 quarts will be 8 pints. This is the juice that it strained out. And so I'm going to start with that juice. But she also said to use apple cider, just apple cider, not apple cider vinegar. So I've got some apple cider here. And I would think in 8 quarts of apples, we're going to need at least 2 quarts of juice. So we'll start with that, and you get the juice warm. There's 1 quart. And there's 2 quarts. We're going to put this over here on a burner and start getting it warm, because we want the juice to be warm. We want our jars and lids to be warm. And I've got the canner heating up over. You're going to recognize this canner from when I did chili the other day. And of course, I had to pressure cook chili. But this is going to be water bath. You can use the same canner, you just don't cook it under pressure. So we're getting water ready to water bath these apples. It's going to take a little bit for the juice to get warm. Here's a bonus tip for you. I saved the apple peelings and the apple cores, and I put it in this half-gallon jug and filled it with apple cider. And I'm going to set that in a dark closet for about 4 to 6 weeks. It only has a paper cover over it. Can you see that, sweetie? Has a coffee filter cover over it. I'm going to put that in a dark spot for 4 to 6 weeks and have homemade apple cider vinegar. It's not vinegar yet. It hadn't even started fermenting. But that's why you only want a piece of coffee filter or a cotton cloth, gauze cloth, to let the air out. But no bad stuff can get back in. Because as it ferments, this is going to make bubbles, and the gas has to go somewhere. And so just check it every once in a while. And I don't know how to make vinegar to a certain acidity point, but whatever type of vinegar you do come out with this, it's still good to put in your dressings for slaw or potato salad or something like that. And of course you can clean with it, strain it off and clean with it. But for right now, we're just letting that ferment and letting the juice come out. I'll set it aside now. Okay.
I want y'all to see who's got the cake first now.
My darling suggested that since this apple cider isn't warm yet, he said we ought to check the cake and see how it's coming along. So he cut us a piece of cake, and we're going to enjoy it. But the apple cider is beginning to get little wisps on it. So pardon us a minute. Is that pretty? Can you see it good, honey? Yeah. And we'll just look at this cake. Oh yeah, that looks really good. So we're going to enjoy a piece of cake while that continues to get warm. Excuse us a minute. Well, we had a nice little break. And our apple cider is warm now, so we're going to start filling jars. Okay. We're going to fill these pint jars with the apple slices. And I don't want to pack them too tight. And we want to give about an inch of head space. So I think that by the time we put the water in, the juice in, that'll do. So we're going to ladle this juice in. To the 1-inch level. Debubble it. Alright, we're ready for round 2. At this point, I have just enough water to cover the tops. So we'll see how high that water level rises as I continue putting jars in there. This is the last of the pints. I did not get 8 pints, I only got 7. And this last one is a little shy. But we're going to do it anyway. That would still be good if you use this up and made a thick syrup with some butter on it and use it on pancakes. So we're going to put them in there. And now, if you can see in here, honey, you can see that the water is a little over an inch, maybe an inch and a half. We could put some more water in it. And then we just bring this to a fast boil. So I'm going to turn it up. I have a little bit of vinegar left. I'm going to pour I wiped my jar rims with the vinegar, but what's left I'm going to put in this pot to hold down calcium and lime deposits and things like that. Now I also have some leftover apple cider juice, but we're just going to put some cinnamon in that and have we might drink some of this we might drink some of this cider with some more of our cake after a while. It doesn't go to waste. Nothing goes to waste around here. So we're going to let this come up to a good boil. But instead of putting the lid and doing all that exhausting and everything like we did on the chili, we're just going to lay the lid on it. So we still want to put the arrows with the arrows, so it fits properly. There. We're just going to do that, and that's all we're going to do to it. I'm going to listen, and we will see some exhaust come out of here. So when it starts exhausting pretty good, I'm going to think that it's boiling. And all I have to do is come in here and peek underneath there and see. Once it does start boiling good, we will boil this hard for 20 minutes. After the 20-minute time time limit, then your apples are done and we'll pull them out. Okay, my timer just went off. We're going to lift this lid and always tilt it away from you. Wait just a little bit. Let some of that steam escape on the far side, and then remove your lid slowly. Still see it boiling real hard. And so we're just going to reach in and grab a jar. The water is still very clean, so that means we didn't have any boil over. That's a good sign. And we're going to have 7 pints. They look pretty. Now you can use these apples any way you want to. You can bake them in cakes. You can use them in salads. You can just eat them straight. You can make syrup with them. Eat them on pancakes. There's that little one. See, it's not as full. And that's the one I said that we're going to probably turn into pancake syrup real quick. But anyway, so out of 9 pounds of apples that cost us $3, we ate a lot of them fresh. We've got 7 pints. We've got some juice. We made a wonderful cake. And we're going to have half a gallon of apple cider vinegar in about 4 to 6 weeks. So I think that's pretty good. That's being pretty frugal. And so, as I always say, these have been Granny B's recipes. Take them and make them yours. Thank you. Bye-bye.